How to manage boards with CUET preparation, general aptitude test. So what I'm trying to say is that don't consider both of these things as like totally different. Start skimming through strategy for English language and the resources to prepare for it. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Bhavika and I hope you all are doing great. In this video, I'll be answering the questions asked by you guys related to CUET, SRCC and exam preparation. In case you're new, I've already made a detailed video on CUET strategy and how you can get into SRCC, so make sure to check it out. I'll link it in the description. So without any further delay, let's just get started. So the first question was regarding general test preparation, and this was actually asked by quite a few of you like under my previous video as well. So I'll explain it in a bit detail. So general test or GAT that you guys refer to basically stands for General Aptitude Test. So in general for competitive exams, these aptitude tests contain 4 sections. First, verbal ability or English. Second, quantitative ability. Third, logical reasoning and data interpretation. And fourth, general knowledge. So when I talk about specifically CUET, the English or the verbal ability part is covered in the section 1, that is the section dedicated for testing your language knowledge. So in general test, there would, for CUET I'm talking, in general test there would be just 3 sections, that is quantitative ability, logical reasoning, and the third one is general knowledge. So when I gave CUET, that was back in 2022, these sections were not separated, like basically the questions were shuffled, like there could be a question on LR or there could be a question on general knowledge, like basically there were mixed questions from these 3 sections, and does require quite dedicated preparation, because I definitely I would say it requires more preparation than your domain subjects, also because you know the topics that are asked in this general test are really different from what you have been studying lately, right? Because understanding topics like syllogisms and data interpretation and let's say critical thinking or arrangements, and like these are basically topics that I'm listing from multiple subjects that are asked under aptitude test, and these require specific preparation. And more than that, the essential part is that you have to solve the around 50 questions in about 60 minutes, so that requires time management. So these general test preparations not only requires you to understand the concept, but also requires you to ace some skills and some hacks as to how you can solve these quicker. So my personal suggestion for preparation of these general tests would be to get yourself enrolled in a reliable and reputed coaching institution. I was personally also enrolled in an institution and I joined it about an year before my CUET exams. So of course that was like the first time that CUET was happening, so nobody had like the exact clue as to what could be covered in general test, but we were expecting it to be like around the level of DU-JAT, and I think that is somewhat similar to what it has been progressing now. Before CUET, there used to be this exam called DU-JAT, and this exam was given by students who wanted to opt for courses like BMS or BBA FIA that is offered by Delhi University, and I think the most reputed college under Delhi University for this has to be the Shaheed Sukhdev College of Business Studies. So for general test preparation, I would highly suggest getting yourself enrolled to a coaching institution, because firstly the concepts are like vast. You already have to cover like 3 sections, and each section does have around 10 concepts minimum, or like around 12 to 15 concepts I would say, which are tested in these exams. And moreover, these coaching institutes would train you for general test, not just for like CUET but also for other institutes that take such competitive exams, preparing you for exams that you would have to give for backup options as well. Because I remember I gave around 5 to 6 backup options. So like I was personally enrolled in an institution called Pratham Test Prep, and I think they taught general test subjects really well. And other than that, there are of course some YouTube sources, but they are mainly targeted towards CAT syllabus. So I don't want that people get or students get intimidated by just studying from the free resources. So it's better to get yourself enrolled in a coaching, and I would suggest give yourself time. Just maybe if you're in 12th standard, I would say get enrolled right now. Like it's the right time, because if you start learning on the concepts now, later on you would just have to revise it and it would strengthen your concepts. Some more tips for general test preparation is that, of course, if you're like targeting for CUET only and you're not looking for like enrolling in an institution, maybe start strengthening up your concepts by finding reliable resources on YouTube. Then there is this website called indiabix.com, and that provides you free questions to practice and like basically free resources to practice all of these topics. However, I'm not very sure if the difficulty level matches to that of like higher level competitive exams, but you can definitely refer it for like practice, and especially in the beginning phase. Other than that, I think you can find DU-JAT papers which were like held before CUET, because I think that would be like a great way to testify your knowledge and your concept strength, because that way you'll have an idea that whether you are actually able to study yourself these concepts or not. And if you feel like no, you're not able to, so of course these coaching institutes also offer like crash courses which you can join post boards for preparation. So the next question asked by the same person was that whether IPMAT prep can cover for CUET prep. Then yes, for sure. IPMAT questions are definitely harder than what I've experienced for CUET. So I gave IPMAT for IIM Rohtak as well as for IIM Indore, and I will say like that particular year the cutoffs went like really high for IIM Rohtak, and I was able to clear the exam. I would say the IPMAT level for IIM Rohtak back in 2022 was again like moderate to hard, but there were also some easy questions. But if I talk about IIM Indore, the level was really hard. So definitely IPMAT prep can really cover for CUET prep as well, as far as I'm aware. And yeah, I think you would be safe if you're preparing for IPMAT. I'm sure you're preparing for a higher level, and that should cover for CUET as well. So the third part of the question was how to manage boards with CUET preparation, and I have to say this has to be one of the most asked questions by you guys. And I mean, it's natural of you to think that how do you guys want to balance boards with CUET preparation, and some of you have been really asking me to make like a whole detailed video regarding it. So if you want, I can for sure make it, but just to sum it up over here, I'll say that conceptual clarity along with practicing mocks is the key, and this is exactly what I've answered to a lot of you under the comment section as well. So you see, what I really mean by that is, see, around 80 to 90% of your syllabus, especially if you're a CBSE student, would align. Basically board syllabus and CUET syllabus around 80 to 90% would be common as far as I am aware, and rest I would definitely ask you guys to like check through the syllabus for each of the subjects you want to appear for, to ensure how much they're actually common and aligning. But yeah, I'm pretty sure there must be like majority of the syllabus would be aligning for both the things. So while you're preparing for boards, while you're studying, make sure that you study the topics and the subjects with full dedication, with 100% focus on conceptual clarity. Make sure you're like having an answer to each and every even tiny doubt of yours that you have for every topic, because you know how MCQs are, they could be asked from like any tiny bit of a topic. It could be like something as basic as which of the following points explains the importance of management, or something as deep as like maybe making it like an application based questions. So the more clarity you have of concepts, the easier it would be for you to answer the MCQ format. Of course, if you're gaining conceptual clarity, answering questions in boards would also become easier, because you already know the reason behind what you're writing or what you're trying to answer. So what I'm trying to say is that don't consider both of these things as like totally different. Of course, the format is different, and that is where the second part that I say, that is practicing mocks, come in handy. So CUET is of course like a completely objective format paper. It's completely MCQ based, and also like requires a lot of time management. So what I'm saying is, of course, once you have gained like conceptual clarity, it is helping you for your boards and for CUET, ensuring that you're actually able to solve questions and having your or acing time management. Mocks and sample papers will really come handy, and that I think would be a great strategy to try to balancing of boards with CUET. Other than that, of course, post boards you would have like at least 1 to 2 months to like really focus more on topics, revising, and it would save you so much time if you're like already studying it for boards only, like with boards only with full focus, because then you would just have to revise the concepts. I hope I've made it clear, and in case you have any doubts, please just comment and I'll be happy to help. Or if you guys want me to make a detailed video, again I can do that as well. Just let me know how many of you are actually interested, because I'm not sure like if you guys want me to make like a whole detailed long video on it. Alright, so the first question actually took some time, but the reason I answered it in so much detail is because these questions were asked by a lot of you guys, so I really wanted to be helpful to each of you. So I hope that I was able to answer you guys in a nice way. So moving to the next question, which is again asked by so many of you, and I've actually replied to a lot of you on this under my previous video also, that is regarding strategy for English language and the resources to prepare for it. So for English, let's divide it in like 3 sections. Of course, there's vocabulary, there's grammar, and there's reading comprehensions, right? So I think I also gave like some tips and strategies in my previous videos. In case you haven't watched, do watch it because it would cover this in more detail. Alright, so I think let's start off with vocabulary. So for vocabulary, one suggestion that I gave was to start preparing now only, because the earlier you start, the more words you'd be aware of and more confident you would be when it comes to having or building good vocabulary for exams and just in general as well. So a few tips, or basically one thing that I used to follow that was asked by my teacher who taught me at my coaching institute only, was that she asked us to basically daily find like, select 10 words. Okay, we would find it from like the resources, the book that was provided to us and the worksheets. But for you, there's basically this book called Word Power Made Easy, which I got to know is like really popular. So of course you can start off with that, or you can just take any word. Like let's say if you read books, maybe find a word from that. If you are watching like an English movie or like an English web series and you find like some word which you are not aware of the meaning, just collect that word. Okay, and take 10 sticky notes, and on each sticky note, firstly write the word, then write the meaning of that word in this way that you understand it, and accompany it with an example using that word in a sentence. How this would help is because if you just write the meanings, there's a tendency you will forget, because ultimately कितने ही words को आप याद रख पाओगे ऐसे by the time you have to give CUET, right? So, but if you use that word in a sentence, preferably something in like what you could see in your daily lives, or just something that makes sense to you, it would be easier for you to retain it. So daily 10 words you have to write like this, and the very next day, before starting with the next 10 words, make sure that you're revising the 10 words that you did the previous day. So this would of course help you, like 10 words a day might seem a lot, but it is not actually, because once you get into the flow, it gets easy. Like you can even learn it by using like hacks, like kuch words hote hain which you can break down into 2 terms, and then you might like find a word similar to it in your own language. Basically this was how our teacher used to teach it, and she actually made it really interesting. She actually has some like basically the coaching institute where I was enrolled, they have their own YouTube live playlist as well, where they take vocabulary sessions. I'm not sure if they still do it, but they used to conduct it, and they're still uploaded on YouTube. So I'll definitely make sure to add a link to that in the description, and you can check that out. So I hope I made that clear for vocabulary, and I would highly suggest you start preparing for vocabulary now only. For grammar, so as for what I gathered for like CUET 2025, that English exam was majorly vocab intensive and not very focused on grammar. But I would still say that if you really want to get into the top college, I don't think it's it's worth taking a risk to skip on grammar, and I would highly suggest that you focus on grammar concepts, because there are some things that we actually speak in daily lives and they're actually not grammatically correct. So that is why I would highly suggest that it's important you focus on grammar concepts as well. I would say if possible, start off with like at least one concept every alternate week now onwards only. Like you can just pick one concept, study it in detail every weekend, and then you can focus on it more like in a better way after your board. Alright, so now talking about the third aspect of English, that is the reading comprehensions. You get better at reading comprehensions as you progress with practice. So basically one tip is to, of course, first you some people suggest that first, before reading the passage, read the questions. So that will give you a fair idea when you go back to reading the passage that okay, a question was asked from this passage, so you should focus more on that particular instead of spending a lot of time on understanding each and every line of the passage. So basically what I mean is, let's say you have a passage and you have 5 questions to answer. So before reading the passage, go on and first read just the questions. Once you read the questions, okay, this part is being asked. Now go back to the passage and start skimming through. the point wherever, like, you know, the that part of the passage where a question is being asked from, it would instantly get clicked in your mind, and you would naturally focus more on that, because you know that there is a question coming from this part. So this basically helps you save time when you have to appear for comprehensions. And the key for acing in reading comprehension is just practice as many questions or as many mocks as you can. You can of course start practicing these reading comprehensions like one every week, or if you're not like wanting to study English language or reading comprehensions right now, you want to focus on your boards only, then of course you can just practice post boards. It totally depends on you. For my personal suggestion, I would say you should start practicing at least 1 to 2 reading comprehensions on a weekly basis, and gradually increase the level of the difficulty. Basically that you can do by practicing actual previous year questions which were asked in CUET and exams like IPMAT. Alright, so the next question was basically a request to suggest some Hindi medium books for domain, but since I was personally enrolled in an English medium, I don't have like the experience of studying from Hindi medium books, but I did conduct a brief research, and I've linked some resources in the description for you guys to check in case you want it. Okay, so the next question is that what is the best time to prepare for CUET? So I would personally say it's like a very subjective question, but I suppose you're asking for my advice. So in my opinion, if you have to give general test, I would highly suggest start preparing now. For language section, again, I would say at least start working on the vocabulary. Rest, I would say, is still manageable post boards. And for domains, I think I've already mentioned that if you focus on conceptual clarity while preparing for your boards, it will actually help you in simultaneously preparing for your CUET. If you're not having time to give, you know, mocks for CUET right now, I would say it's still fine, even though I would of course suggest you guys to try it. But make sure you are focusing on conceptual clarity, understanding the logic and the reasoning behind every topic that you study. That way you're preparing simultaneously for your boards and CUET. And yeah, other than that, if you feel like no, you really just want to focus on your boards only right now and that you would handle CUET later, then I mean, what is best time for you depends on you. Like, of course, if you're like weaker in a subject, or like if you find, let's say, a particular topic hard, the best time it would be that you start preparing for it now. Let's say you're targeting economic honors, and as I've already mentioned in my previous video, mathematics does come off like a moderate to hard level in CUET. So of course, the best time to prepare for mathematics is right now. Start preparing for it as early as you can. Alright, so the next question is regarding accountancy, book recommendation for numericals. So I would say honestly, for accountancy, as far as what I can recall, my agenda used to be that I want to practice as many MCQs as I can find. I personally would not suggest that, you know, just restrict yourself to one book ki acha theek hai khali NCERT kar lo, या सिर्फ TS Grewal कर लो, या just focus on DK Goel. That's not what I would ever suggest, that okay, just do this book and you'll be good to go. I don't think it works like that. You need to understand these are exams and questions can be formed, like there could be n number of questions that could be formed on like any concept, right? So as many MCQs you find, just start practicing it. If you think you're thorough with NCERT, okay, get yourself TS Grewal, practice from that. Of course, I know that these books contain more of like theoretical long solving questions and not MCQs, but kuch MCQs hote hain, so start by that. And then of course there are books like, you know, I think published by Oswaal publications, which have like question banks, so they would have like a bunch of questions on these subjects, specifically MCQ format mein, because they are like CUET oriented. Back when, like, what I used to do was, I remember Sunil Panda sir started his own series of like questions for every topic. He would provide around 50 to 100 questions. I would play his video, check the question, solve it on my own, and then check my answer with him. So the agenda used to be like, just practice as many MCQs as you can find, because you know a question can be asked from anywhere and n number of questions can be found on every topic. But still, I will try to like recommend the list of books that are like renowned for accountancy topics and practice. So make sure to check in the description. So the next question is again, like, I think it's like confusion among so many students, that is whether GT is required. This question does not have like a simple yes or no answer. Basically, it depends on what course you are targeting for. So let's say you want to get into SRCC, you want to study BCom honors or you want to study economic honors. So if that's what you want, you don't have to appear for general test. If that's like you're really sure you want this only, or you want to do BCom honors only, or you want to do economic honors only, then no, general test is not required. However, if you're somebody who wants to study BMS or let's say BBA FIA or BBE from DU, then yes, you would have to give general test because it's like a mandatory requirement in the subject combination. Another point to add is that if you have like any of these courses as your backup options, like let's say if you don't get like your college of your choice in BCom honors, you would be fine studying BMS from some other college. So अगर आप backup में target कर रहे हो, so in that case also you would have to give general test. So I think I've made it pretty clear. So general test is not required for all the courses. Make sure to know that what courses you want, what backup courses you want, and every course has its own subject combination. To sum up, BCom honors and economic honors does not require general test, while courses like BMS, BBA FIA and BBE do require general test. And this I'm talking only in context of Delhi University. Other universities can have their own rules, so I would suggest you just check the subject combinations prescribed by them. Alright, so another doubt that a lot of you guys have is related to DU guidelines. So basically, I told in my previous video, and it is even listed in the official document by CUET, that now students are allowed to opt for subjects in CUET even if they haven't studied it in class 12th. However, Delhi University as of now, like at least in 2025 CUET, had the guidelines that it would accept CUET scores only for the subjects that you have studied in class 12th. So if like, of course, firstly I would say that maybe you'll have to wait for like the actual updated guidelines that would be released before CUET 2026. But as of now, yes, the rule still stands still. That is, if you don't have like a subject in class 12, then even if CUET or UGC allows, you can't really use score in that subject for getting admission in Delhi University. I hope I made that clear. So another question that I've been commonly asked is that since some of you students are from state boards, so you are not really used to studying from NCERT or maybe find it boring. So honestly, I'll just say, like, you guys wanted me to share tips on how to study from NCERT. So firstly, NCERT is boring is not a valid excuse, especially if you're like targeting your dream college and it's like a really reputed college. You have to study it. It's like something that I have said this earlier as well. Take NCERT as your holy grail, especially for subjects like business studies and even for accountancy, because this time a lot of questions were asked from NCERT book as it is. Like, this is what one of my college juniors told me. So NCERT to padni padegi yaar. Like, even if it's boring, like what you can do is maybe like pick a topic, like start off with a subject and a topic that you find interesting. Start reading like a few pages of that topic and then supplement it by understanding that topic from a YouTube video, because they make it more interesting, or basically just makes it easier for you to even retain the concept and understand if you have like any doubt which was not answered in NCERT clearly. So of course, like, read a topic or like read a few topics and consult a YouTuber, or basically like just watch a YouTube video on that topic. That would allow you in better retention and better understanding of the topic without making it like very monotonous and boring. Other than that, of course, there are also additional books that are really good for some subjects. For example, Sandeep Garg for macroeconomics is like a really nice book. It explains all the topics very clearly, and as far as I can recall, for macroeconomics, I studied from Sandeep Garg only. I did not really refer to NCERT. So of course, if you feel like your concepts are really clear, or like your concepts are crystal clear and you don't really require NCERT for all the subjects, you can skip NCERT in those cases. But for subjects like business studies and also for accountancy practice and theory, I will say that please don't skip NCERT. Alright, so with that, I think I've answered most of your questions and also shared tips and answers to a lot of commonly asked questions under my previous video. I hope this video helps. You can still comment down if you have any other questions to ask, and I'd be happy to help. You can also comment any video requests. Some of you guys have been asking me to make videos as to how you can study better and score good marks in your board exams. So I'm working on a video for that. And a few of you also asked me to share as to how I got into SRCC, what made me switch my course, as initially I was targeting a different course and then I just really wanted to get into SRCC. So let me know what more videos you would like to see from me. Just comment below your video request and I'd be happy to make such videos. Make sure you like this video, share it with your friends to help them get to their dream colleges, and subscribe to my channel for more such videos and fun content. See you in my next video. Until then, keep preparing. All the very best for your preparation. Bye.